It's not a secret. There are clear ways to win at football betting and football trading. So in this video, you are going to find out the 5 steps to winning at football betting or trading on Betfair. I think most of you watching this video are going to want to start making money at Betfair Trading. The reason I say that is that most of you watching will not be. That's the fact of life with Betfair Traders, is that most of you are not making money. However, the methods below are tried and tested by thousands of Betfair traders over 10 years. I have established these winning principles by watching and training thousands of new Betfair traders over the past decade. So let's start with step 1. Step number 1. Write this down if you want. This is really good. Decide what football betting market to focus on. That's basically the 2 avenues. Do you want to bet on who's going to win, or do you want to bet on goals? Do you prefer the idea of investing your money in who you think is going to win, or betting on goals? You know, and this is the kind of fork in the road decision that you need to make. I can't make this decision for you. You need to decide. Do I want to start with looking at who's going to win, or do I want to start with looking at goals? So, you know, let's say you've made that a decision. Let's say you've gone, okay, I'm going to bet on goals, for instance, right? Step 2 is creating a strategy. You are all, no matter what you do on Betfair Trading, you are all going to have to do this. You are all going to have to create a strategy. Every successful Betfair trader I know has a strategy and a structure to their betting and trading. Now, the easiest way to create a strategy is the Betfair Trading software from Betfair Trading Community, because basically Betfair Trading Community essentially gives you the right tools for the job. So it allows you to create your strategy, save your strategy, and get your selections given to you from that strategy every single day at the click of a button. And this is just phenomenal. When you start to create a strategy, the first question I want you to think about is, what outcome do you want to happen, and what odds do you need to get on average from that to make money? So the first thing I'm going to say before I get into it, and don't worry, I'm going to give examples, is value is king, right? Value. I know I say this all the time, but value is so important. Now that might sound a bit complicated, but I'm going to give you a really simple example. So let's say I want to bet on teams that score over 3.5 goals 50% of the time. So the way you'd set up in the software and the criteria you would want is you would want to go overall percentage full time over 3.5 goals greater than or equal to 50%. Okay, and then you would add that to the filter, and that is saved basically in that top row for you forever. Let's find some value odds to add into the filter. And again, you can do this on the Betfair Trading Community software. And if we want games like we already have, where over 3.5 happens 50% of the time, we need to know what 50% is in odds. Now, 2.0 in odds is 50% as a percentage, okay? So if we're backing a strategy where we think there's going to be goals 50% of the time or more, we actually want higher odds than 2.0. We don't want bigger odds. Remember, if we're backing, we want a higher number, and if we're laying, we want a lower number. So in this chart, you can see the next price in the chart is 2.1. Now, the reason I bring this to light, and actually I have this chart in a blog post that I've done on this that is written. It's absolutely fantastic. It's probably the best bit of work I've ever done. It tells you basically how to win at football betting or football trading, step by step, 5-step pathway. If you want a copy of this blog post, if you want me to send it to you, if you want me to send you the link, just say the word step, okay? Step. But we're going to use the odds of 2.1, so we've got a margin for a potential edge for the strategy, okay? So we're going to now add this to our filter. And the way we do this is that we select Betfair, then odds, then over 3.5 goals, then greater than or equal to 2.10, and again we add that to our strategy. So If my bet wins 50% of the time, odds of 2.1, I would actually win £10 profit on every two bets using £100 stakes. So, and remember as well, in this filter, we're actually putting the minimum odds at 2.1. So often the odds will be higher on these selections. And in theory, you should be getting value. You're getting bigger odds than you should be getting. Remember to save your strategy and give it a name. And once you've done that, you actually have a strategy. You have created a strategy. You've got a hypothesis that says, I'm going for bigger odds than they should be on over 3.5 goals essentially, and I believe that that will make money. Step 3 is testing your strategy, and this is massive. So on the software, you can actually, once you've got through to your selections, you can actually click this export button here on the right hand side, and this will export your results. You can then import them into a spreadsheet. Now, if you don't know how to use spreadsheets, I'm not going to go into that obviously in this video, it would take forever, but it's fairly simple. I use a very basic spreadsheet. The reason being, you don't need to use anything particularly fancy. The main thing you want to do is start recording your results. And the reason we do it this way is that we don't want to put any money on yet. And you might think, why wouldn't I put any money on it? I've just created a strategy, I want to start putting money on it. The reality is you haven't tested this strategy. We don't know if this strategy will work. So at this stage, it's just not wise to invest money at all. In fact, the next thing we really need to think about is how much data do we want for our strategy before we accept the results of it. Now, if you're asking me how many I like personally, I like 2,000 results. I spoke to a data scientist about this. It's a question I've had for a long time. I've always thought about what's the right number. And I really like 2,000. 2,000 tends to tell you whether something's working or not, and it's not likely to be down to luck. But after you have an amount of results you're happy with, you might then find that certain odds ranges work loads better than others. So let's say you've got 2,000 results on this over 3.5 goal strategy, but you find that the odds of between 2.1 and 2.5 don't make any money. Well, you're probably not going to use that odds range. You might just go, well, I'm going to set my minimum odds now to 2.5. Or maybe you look at the Belgian league and you see that it's 30 points down and you go, the Belgian league clearly just doesn't work. I'm going to get rid of that league. I don't have a problem with that. The only thing I would say is keep your original strategy, keep your original filter. Just basically make a new one, okay, and save it with those changes before you don't want to get rid of your original filter just in case your tweaks don't work and you want to go back to the original one. And it's always good to compare the results of those two filters just to check that you've got it right. So the testing data you get will become invaluable. So here we go, we're kind of at step 4 now, and this is where we've got the data, we're happy with our strategy, we know what we want to go forward with. Now we start betting. And you might go, great, this is what I've been waiting for. Here's the catch, with small stakes, okay? And I give an example here of just a minimum bet on Betfair, which is £1, okay? You really want to start using small stakes. Now, if you're doing straight bets, you really want to keep it small. I use around 0.5% of my bankroll as a stake. You don't want to have a large amount of your bankroll on any trade. Most of the time mine are below 2%, and the reason is you want to give yourself a lot of bets, right? If it does go wrong, you don't want to bust your bankroll. If I lose 0.5% of my bankroll, even if I have let's say I lose 10 points, I've only lost 5% of my bankroll. I've still got 95%. That's really key because if I'd been using 10% of my bankroll per bet and I lost 10 points, I'd have lost all my bankroll. I'd have gone bust. Step 5, very simply, is once you're happy with your strategy and you're making money using small stakes, increase your stakes. Okay? Now, if everything has gone to plan and, after 2 or 3 months you're making money after your testing, let's say you started with £1,000 bankroll and now you've got £2,000 bankroll. You might say to me, well, Martin, how do I deal with that? I've got more money now. Well, you can still invest the same amount percentage-wise and you will be upping your stakes. So, I'll show you here. If I've got £1,000 bankroll and I'm using a 0.5% stake, my bet would be £5, okay? But then let's say it increases to £2,000. Well, the same bet, 0.5% of my bankroll, is now £10, okay? So I'm taking the exact same risk in terms of percentage of my bankroll, but if you notice, the money's gone up in line with how much my bankroll's gone up. So again, we're not increasing our risk here, we're increasing the stake accordingly. Then what do? You go, well, that's the 5 steps, mine. What do I do then? Time to create a second strategy. Once you've got that strategy that works for you, you want to start building your portfolio. Guys, this pathway works. It really works. Everything that we've learned here today, everything that's part of this 5-step process, it's all statistical. It's all maths, okay? This isn't hunches. This isn't gut feeling. It's reality. It's real. And this is the reason why I think so many people have had success with it. In fact, on our site, we've actually got a page full of member testimonials, which is just fantastic. If you have any doubts about us or worries, I know there's plenty of nonsense out there on the internet about us, but you actually want to see what real members think, that's the place to go. Now, I'm not some genius who just randomly came up with this incredible pathway to becoming a successful trader. I'm just someone who went through the pitfalls myself and quickly learned I needed software. And I'm also someone who watched thousands of traders and trained thousands of traders over the past 10 years. And I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. Guys, I hope that's helped you. Like I say, if you want the handout, please say the word STEP. That really just, honestly, it's well worth a read. And I'd save it as a bookmark and just have this article that you can look at time and time again. I hope you have a great week, everyone. But most importantly of all, as ever, of course, I hope you make some money trading on Betfair.